Admiral Ryoko Tanaka stood at the viewport of the UES Endeavour, watching as the massive Nexari vessel approached Earth's orbital defense perimeter. After decades of searching the stars for intelligent life, humanity's first contact was about to begin. The sleek, crystalline ship before them dwarfed even the Endeavour, Earth's largest vessel, its surface refracting sunlight in mesmerizing patterns. "Admiral, they're transmitting again," Lieutenant Kai Rodriguez reported from his communications station. "Same frequency as before." Tanaka nodded, her weathered features reflecting the ethereal light of the alien ship. "Put it through." The holographic display materialized in the center of the bridge, revealing the alien delegation. The Nexari were tall, elegant beings with iridescent skin and multiple sets of arms. Their ambassador, who had identified himself as First Speaker Vixos, bowed slightly. "People of Earth," Vixos's translated voice echoed through the bridge. "We come seeking alliance and mutual prosperity. Our civilization has much to offer yours." For 3 months, the Nexari shared their knowledge freely. They helped upgrade Earth's medical technology, improved our energy efficiency, and even offered insights into faster-than-light travel. The United Earth government welcomed them as friends, and humanity celebrated its entry into a larger galactic community. Dr. Marcus Okoro, head of xenobiology at the Lagos Space Research Institute, was the first to notice something wrong. While analyzing genetic samples the Nexari had provided, he discovered anomalies that suggested their DNA was artificially modified, engineered for survival in various environments. But it was his discovery of trace genetic markers from extinct species that set off the real alarm. "These markers," he explained to Admiral Tanaka during an emergency meeting, "they're from civilizations the Nexari claim to have peacefully integrated with, but the genetic patterns suggest violent absorption, not peaceful merger." Before they could act on this information, the Nexari revealed their true nature. Their massive ships, once thought to be diplomatic vessels, unfurled into battle configurations. The crystalline surfaces spawned thousands of smaller craft, like wasps emerging from a nightmare hive. First Speaker Vixos's final transmission to Earth dropped all pretense of friendship. "Your world is rich in resources we require. Your species will be harvested and integrated into our collective. Resistance is beneath consideration." The initial assault was devastating. The orbital defense network, its protocols compromised by 3 months of Nexari upgrades, fell within hours. Major cities worldwide were targeted by precision strikes, not to destroy, but to disable and contain. But the Nexari had made a critical mistake. They had studied human technology, human biology, and human military capabilities. What they failed to understand was human spirit, particularly human rage at betrayal. In New Delhi, Colonel Priya Verma led her surrounded troops in a desperate gambit, using the Nexari's own containment fields to create a feedback loop that destroyed 3 of their harvester ships. In the ruins of Sydney, engineer James O'Connor discovered that the aliens' crystalline technology had a fatal resonance frequency, knowledge bought with the lives of his entire team. Admiral Tanaka, aboard the badly damaged Endeavour, made the call that would change the course of the war. "All Earth forces, implement Protocol Omega. Authorization Tanaka 703. Let them learn what it means to earn humanity's wrath." Protocol Omega was a last-resort strategy, one that would sacrifice the orbital defense platforms entirely by turning them into kinetic weapons. As the platforms fell from orbit, their mass accelerated by gravity and their trajectories precisely calculated, they struck the largest Nexari vessels with devastating force. The alien ships, for all their advanced technology, couldn't withstand the simple physics of mass and velocity. Their shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, proved vulnerable to simple kinetic impacts. As their fleet scattered in disarray, Admiral Tanaka broadcast one final message. "You came to harvest us to add us to your collection of conquered species. Instead, you've awakened something you don't understand. We are humanity. We do not submit. We do not surrender. And we are coming for you." The Nexari retreat was swift, but the damage was done. Earth's major cities lay in ruins, millions were dead or missing, and humanity's first contact with alien life had ended in bloodshed. But as Admiral Tanaka stood in the emergency command center beneath Mount Cheyenne, watching the reports flow in from around the globe, she saw something the Nexari hadn't counted on: unity. Former rival nations pooled their resources. Scientists shared their discoveries freely. Military forces coordinated seamlessly. In trying to break humanity, the Nexari had instead forged it into something stronger. "They'll be back," Dr. Okoro said, standing beside her at the command table, "and in greater numbers." "Good," Tanaka replied, studying the preliminary designs for a new class of warship, one that incorporated what they'd learned from this first battle. "Because when they return, we'll be ready, and this time we'll show them why you should never, ever betray humanity." 6 months after the Nexari retreat, Earth had transformed. The scattered ruins of major cities were now staging grounds for humanity's greatest engineering project, the Phoenix Initiative. Dr. Alina Rostova walked through what had once been downtown Shanghai, her footsteps echoing off walls reinforced with newly developed metamaterials. The research facility before her housed thousands of scientists from every corner of the globe, all working toward a single goal: turning the Nexari's betrayal into humanity's triumph. Alina's team had been tasked with reverse engineering the crystalline technology left behind in the aftermath of the invasion. "Dr. Rostova," called out Dr. Jamal Ibrahim, her colleague from the Cairo Institute, "the latest resonance tests are complete. You need to see this." Inside the lab, holographic displays showed the results of their experiments. The captured Nexari crystal fragments responded to specific electromagnetic frequencies, not just in terms of destruction, but control. "It's not just a power source," Alina realized, studying the data. "It's their entire computing architecture." Across the planet, similar breakthroughs were occurring. In Brazil, the Recife Advanced Weapons Division, led by Commander Felipe Santos, successfully tested the first human-made crystal hybrid weapon system. The prototype cannon could match Nexari shield frequencies, rendering their supposedly impenetrable defenses useless. At the Orbital Reconstruction Station, Admiral Tanaka oversaw the transformation of Earth's defensive capabilities. The new fleet took shape in high orbit, each ship incorporating lessons learned from humanity's near extinction. "Status report," she commanded, watching as construction drones swarmed around the massive frame of humanity's new flagship. "The Retribution is at 67% completion," reported Captain David Chen, her new second-in-command. "The crystal hybrid core is stable, and weapons systems are testing beyond projected capabilities." The ship represented everything humanity had learned about warfare in the past 6 months. Its hull, composed of adaptive metamaterials, could alter its structure in response to enemy attacks. The weapons systems, based on Dr. Rostova's research, could penetrate Nexari shields. Most importantly, its very existence proved that humanity could match and exceed alien technology when properly motivated. But the Phoenix Initiative wasn't just about military preparation. In underground facilities across the globe, billions of data points were being processed by quantum computers, analyzing every second of humanity's interaction with the Nexari. Dr. Marcus Okoro, now heading the Xenological Defense Division, had made another crucial discovery. "They're not just conquerors," he explained during a global security briefing. "They're parasites. Each species they harvest becomes part of their biological and technological evolution, but this process, it has a flaw." The holographic display showed genetic sequences from recovered Nexari tissue samples. Each absorption makes them more complex, but also more vulnerable to cascading system failures. Their strength is their weakness. In the newly established United Earth Defense Force headquarters beneath the Urals, General Priya Verma, promoted after her successful defense of New Delhi, coordinated the global military response. "Every civilian population center is now equipped with resonance generators," she reported to the World Security Council. "If they try another harvesting attack, they'll find we're no longer easy prey." The warning came sooner than expected. Long-range sensors, enhanced with crystal hybrid technology, detected Nexari scout ships at the edge of the solar system. But this time, Earth was ready. Admiral Tanaka stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, watching as her fleet took up defensive positions. The ship's crystal core hummed with power, its frequencies perfectly calibrated to disrupt Nexari systems. Around the planet, ground-based defenses powered up, their targeting systems linked to a global AI that could respond to threats faster than human reflexes. "Message from Earth Command," Captain Chen announced. "All systems are go. Operation Phoenix is authorized." Tanaka allowed herself a grim smile. The Nexari thought they had broken humanity, weakened it enough for easy conquest. Instead, they had forced humanity to evolve, to unite, to become something stronger than it had ever been before. "Send our response to the scout ships," she ordered. The message was simple, broadcast on frequencies the Nexari couldn't ignore. "You came to harvest us, you stayed to teach us. Now witness what humanity does with those lessons." The scout ships retreated, but everyone knew this was just the beginning. The real battle was coming, and Earth would be ready. In labs, factories, and military bases across the planet, humanity prepared not just to defend, but to take the fight to the enemy. Dr. Rostova, watching the sensor feeds from her lab in Shanghai, felt a mix of pride and anticipation. "They thought they were superior," she said to Dr. Ibrahim, "but they forgot something fundamental about humans." "What's that?" he asked, calibrating their latest crystal matrix. "We don't just survive adversity," she replied, watching as another squadron of Earth's new hybrid fighters launched for patrol. "We transform it into opportunity, and now, thanks to their own technology, we can make them regret ever thinking we were prey." The Proxima Centauri colony had gone dark 3 days ago. Now, the UES Retribution led a fleet of 50 ships through hyperspace, about to attempt humanity's first major offensive beyond the solar system. Admiral Tanaka studied the tactical display, where the colony's last known coordinates pulsed with an ominous red glow. "Quantum sensors detecting multiple Nexari signatures," reported Lieutenant Zara Rahman, her fingers dancing across the crystalline interface. "There, harvesting the colony." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what harvesting meant: the systematic breakdown of human beings into their base genetic components, fuel for the Nexari's twisted evolution. But this time, humanity wasn't helpless. "Battle formations," Tanaka ordered, her voice steady. "Activate the Shadow Veil systems." The human fleet shimmered and seemed to fade from view as they dropped out of hyperspace. Dr. Rostova's latest innovation, crystal matrices reconfigured to bend light and energy around their ships, gave them precious moments of surprise. The scene that greeted them was nightmarish. 3 massive Nexari harvester ships hovered over the colony's main dome, their crystalline tendrils piercing the structure like enormous parasitic roots. Smaller fighter craft patrolled in geometric patterns, their formations perfect, mechanical. "They're not expecting resistance," Captain Chen observed. "Not here, not this far from Earth." "Then let's make an impression," Tanaka replied. "All ships execute Operation Thunderstrike." The battle erupted with surgical precision. Earth's fleet decloaked simultaneously, their first salvos targeted with artificial intelligence precision. Crystal hybrid beams struck the Nexari ships at their resonance points, shattering their supposedly impenetrable shields. But the Nexari weren't easily defeated. Their ships began to adapt, their crystalline structures rearranging to counter the human attacks. What had begun as a surprise assault transformed into a brutal engagement. "Admiral," Lieutenant Rahman called out, "we're detecting unusual energy patterns from the colony, the harvesters. They're accelerating their process." On the tactical display, life signs within the colony were rapidly disappearing. The Nexari were consuming the colonists faster, turning them into raw material for their ship's regeneration. "Not this time," Tanaka growled. "Deploy the firebreak teams." From the Retribution's launch bays, specialized assault craft rocketed toward the colony. Led by Commander Viktor Petrov, the firebreak teams were humanity's answer to Nexari ground forces. Their powered armor incorporated crystal hybrid technology, allowing them to disrupt Nexari systems through direct contact. Petrov's voice crackled over the comm as his team breached the colony's outer shell. Making entry now, these bastards aren't expecting infantry. They never do. Inside the colony, the firebreak teams encountered the true horror of Nexari harvesting. Crystalline growths covered every surface, poolsing with stolen human life force. But where previous encounters had ended in helpless slaughter, this time humanity fought back. The resonance weapons work, Petrov reported, his team systematically destroying the harvest apparatus. The crystals shatter when hit with the correct frequency. We're saving everyone we can. Above the colony, the space battle reached its crescendo. The Nexari ships, unable to complete their harvest, began to show signs of desperation. Their perfect formations broke down, their responses became erratic. "They're not used to being hungry," Dr. Okoro observed from his station aboard the Retribution. "Their entire strategy relies on consuming their victims quickly. When denied their food source, they become unstable." Tanaka seized the opportunity. "All ships, concentrate fire on the lead harvester. Let's see how they handle actual combat." The combined firepower of Earth's fleet struck the massive Nexari vessel. Its crystalline surface cracked, then shattered, the ship breaking apart in a spectacular display of light and energy. The remaining harvesters, displaying an almost organic fear, began to retreat. "Should we pursue?" Captain Chen asked. "Negative," Tanaka replied. "The colony is our priority." In the aftermath, as medical ships arrived to treat the survivors, humanity had gained more than just a victory. They had proof that the Nexari could be beaten, that their technological superiority wasn't absolute. But they had also made a disturbing discovery. Dr. Okoro stood in the colony's central lab, examining data recovered from the Nexari harvest apparatus. "Admiral," he called over the comm, "you need to see this." The genetic analysis told a grim story. The Nexari weren't just consuming humans. They were specifically targeting certain genetic markers, seeking something in human DNA that they desperately needed. "They're dying," Dr. Okoro explained, pointing to degrading patterns in the Nexari genetic samples. "Their endless consumption, their forced evolution, it's becoming unsustainable. They need human genetic stability to survive." So this isn't just conquest, Tanaka realized. It's desperation. "Yes," Dr. Okoro confirmed, "and desperate enemies are the most dangerous kind." As the fleet prepared to return to Earth, carrying both survivors and vital intelligence, Admiral Tanaka recorded her log. "We've proven we can fight them, hurt them, even defeat them. But we've also learned that the Nexari won't stop. They can't stop. This isn't just a war for territory or resources, it's a war for survival. Theirs or ours." The stars streaked past as the fleet entered hyperspace, leaving the secured colony behind. Humanity had won its first major offensive, but the war was far from over. The Nexari would return, stronger and more desperate than ever. But now, finally, humanity knew their weakness. The hunters had become the hunted. The UES Retribution drifted silently through the debris field at the edge of the Tau Ceti system. What they had initially thought was space junk turned out to be the graveyard of an ancient battle. Admiral Tanaka studied the twisted remains of ships that were neither human nor Nexari in design. "Analysis complete," Dr. Okoro announced, reviewing the quantum scan data. "These wrecks are approximately 300 years old. The energy signatures match Nexari weapons, but these other vessels—" He paused, his eyes widening. "They were using anti-crystal technology." Before Tanaka could respond, Lieutenant Raman's voice cut through the bridge. "Multiple contacts, unknown configuration approaching fast." The ships that emerged from behind a massive chunk of debris were unlike anything they'd seen before. Organic-looking vessels with surfaces that seemed to ripple like liquid metal, they moved with an agility that defied their size. "They're hailing us," Captain Chen reported. "The language is translating now." A holographic figure materialized on the bridge, humanoid, but with gray-green skin that shifted patterns like camouflage. "I am Sentinel Caxon of the Meridian Resistance," the being announced in surprisingly clear English. "You appear to be fighting the World Eaters. Perhaps we should talk." Hours later, in the Retribution's conference room, humanity learned they weren't alone in their struggle. The Meridians were survivors of a civilization that had nearly been consumed by the Nexari centuries ago. They had escaped with a fraction of their population, developing technology specifically designed to counter the crystal-based systems of their enemy. "Your species has achieved in months what took us decades," Caxton observed, studying the specs of Earth's hybrid weapons. "Your adaptation rate is remarkable." "Necessity," Tanaka replied. "We had no choice but to evolve quickly." "There are others," Caxton revealed, activating a holographic map of the galaxy. Points of light indicated various species that had either resisted or escaped the Nexari. "The Altari, masters of biological engineering, the Zirik, experts in quantum manipulation, all survivors, all fighting back." Dr. Rostova, who had been called to the meeting, leaned forward. "Each species seems to have developed different approaches to fighting the Nexari, if we combined our technologies." "Precisely," Caxton agreed. "We've been watching your species since your first victory. Your crystal hybrid technology, combined with our anti-crystal systems and the others' specialties, we could finally have a chance to end the World Eater's reign." The next few weeks saw an unprecedented exchange of knowledge and technology. The Retribution became a floating conference of species, each bringing their own bitter experience with the Nexari and their own innovations in fighting back. The Altari, represented by their chief geneticist Vale, shared biological countermeasures that could disrupt the Nexari's ability to absorb genetic material. The Zirik, insected beings who communicated through quantum entanglement, provided insights into the fundamental weaknesses of crystalline computing. But it was Commander Petrov's firebreak teams that made the breakthrough. During a joint training exercise with Meridian warriors, they discovered that their combined technologies created an unexpected synergy. The human crystal hybrid systems, when linked with Meridian anticrystal fields, didn't just disrupt Nexari technology, they could seize control of it. "It's like a virus," Dr. Rostova explained during an Alliance briefing. "Our hybrid tech acts as a carrier, allowing the Meridian disruption fields to penetrate deep into their systems. We could potentially turn their own ships against them." The implications were staggering. For the first time, the various resistance groups began to see a path to victory, but with hope came new dangers. "The Nexari will sense the change in balance," Sentinel Caxton warned. "They've survived this long by consuming any species that could threaten them if they detect our alliance." As if on cue, the alert klaxons blared. Lieutenant Raman's voice was tense. "Multiple Nexari fleets detected, converging on this sector. This isn't a harvest mission, it's an extermination force." "How many ships?" Tanaka demanded. "Hundreds, possibly thousands. They're pulling forces from across the galaxy." The assembled alien representatives shared knowing looks. The Nexari had finally recognized the true threat, not any single species, but the possibility of unity among their prey. "They fear us together," Vale observed, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing with excitement. "As they should." Admiral Tanaka stood, addressing the gathered representatives of humanity's new allies. "Then let's show them why. Our ships, your anti-crystal tech, our hybrid weapons, your quantum systems, we've all survived them separately. Together we can end them." The next hours were a flurry of activity as the combined fleet prepared for battle. Human engineers worked alongside Meridian technicians, integrating their systems. Altari biological enhancers were applied to fighter pilots, improving their reaction times. Zirit quantum coordinators linked the Allied ships' targeting systems. As the massive Nexari fleet approached, Admiral Tanaka stood on her bridge, watching the tactical display where friendly ships now showed in a rainbow of colors, each representing a different species united in purpose. "They tried to consume us all," she broadcast to the Allied fleet. "Instead, they created something they can't digest, unity. Today, we show them the price of their hunger." The Alliance fleet moved into formation, ready to make its stand. The hunters were about to learn what happened when the hunted joined forces, when desperation turned to determination, when prey became predators. The final battle for galactic survival was about to begin. The combined fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Nexari home system. Thousands of ships representing 6 different species moved in perfect coordination, their integrated technologies humming with deadly purpose. At the fleet's heart, the UES Retribution led the assault force that would determine the fate of countless civilizations. Neural link with Z-RIT quantum network established, Lieutenant Raman reported. All ships are synchronized. Admiral Tanaka nodded, watching as the tactical display showed their forces in a 3-dimensional battle array designed by merged human and alien AIs. The plan they were about to execute had never been attempted in the history of space warfare. The Nexari are responding, Captain Chen announced. Massive energy signatures, their entire defensive fleet is mobilizing. The space around the Nexari homeworld came alive with crystalline ships, their formations creating geometric patterns so vast they could be seen from light years away. At their center loomed something that made even the seasoned Alliance commanders pause, a structure that dwarfed planets, a living crystal that pulsed with the combined genetic material of thousands of consumed species. The world heart, Sentinel Caxin said softly, their central consciousness, the source of their hunger. Dr. Rostova's voice came through the command channel from her position in the fleet's research vessel. All hybrid systems are primed. The modified crystal virus is ready for deployment. The virus was humanity's contribution to the final solution, a fusion of human ingenuity, Meridian anti-crystal technology, Altari biological engineering, and Z-RIT quantum mathematics. If it worked, it would turn the Nexari's greatest strength into their ultimate weakness. All ships' battle positions, Tanaka ordered. Begin Operation Genesis. The Alliance fleet split into its component parts, each race executing their role in the complex battle plan. Human ships, their hybrid weapons powered to maximum, engaged the Nexari front lines directly. Meridian vessels slipped through subspace, their liquid metal hulls allowing them to phase through the enemy's crystal formations. Altari bioships released clouds of engineered particles that interfered with the Nexari's genetic absorption abilities. The Nexari responded with overwhelming force. Crystalline beams of energy sliced through space, while swarms of smaller ships attempted to surround and isolate Alliance vessels. But this time, they faced an enemy that understood them completely. They're trying to adapt, Dr. Akoro observed from his station. But they can't match our rate of innovation. Every time they evolve a defense, we're already developing a counter. The battle reached its crescendo as Commander Petrov led a combined strike team of human firebreak commandos and Meridian warriors toward the world heart. Their ships, cloaked by overlapping technologies, carried the payload that would end the Nexari threat forever. We're detecting unusual activity in the world heart, Raman reported suddenly. It's communicating. A signal burst through all frequencies, all languages simultaneously. The voice of the Nexari collective consciousness spoke directly into the minds of every being in the system. Why do you resist perfection? We offer immortality through unity. All that you are would be preserved within us. Admiral Tanaka stood from her command chair. You offer extinction wrapped in pretty lies. We choose to remain who we are, to evolve on our own terms. Your perfection is stagnation. Your unity is death. The World Heart's response was a surge of power that transformed nearby Nexari ships into weapons, their crystalline forms shattering and reforming into massive geometric arrays of pure energy. But as they prepared to unleash their ultimate attack, Petrov's team reached their target. Package is delivered, his voice crackled through the comm. Initiating sequence now. The virus, carried by human crystal hybrid systems, transmitted through Meridian anti-crystal fields and propagated by Z-RIT quantum networks, struck the world heart. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the massive structure began to pulse erratically. It's working, Dr. Rostova reported excitedly. The virus is rewriting their base code. Instead of consuming genetic material, they're releasing it. The world heart blazed with impossible colors as centuries of absorbed species began to separate and disperse. Nexari ships throughout the system began to crystallize, their conscious cores separating from the genetic material they had stolen. The great hive mind that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia was breaking apart. "All ships full retreat," Tanaka ordered. "Let the virus complete its work." The Alliance fleet pulled back to a safe distance, watching as the Nexari civilization transformed. When the process finished hours later, what remained was a field of inert crystals surrounding a much smaller, but still impressive, crystalline world. "Scanning," Raman reported. "I'm detecting Nexari life signs, but they're different. The virus worked exactly as designed. They can no longer absorb other species. They're locked into their original form." The war was over. The Nexari threat was neutralized, not through extinction, but through forced evolution. They would survive, but as one species among many, no longer able to consume others to fuel their advancement. In the aftermath, as the Alliance fleet prepared to return home, Admiral Tanaka recorded her final log of the war. "We came together to face extinction and found something greater than survival. The galaxy is entering a new age, not of predators and prey, but of cooperation and shared growth. Humanity's first interstellar war has ended. Our first true interstellar peace is about to begin." The UES Retribution turned away from the Nexari system, leading the fleet home. Behind them, the former world heart pulsed with a new kind of light, not the hungry glow of consumption, but the steady shine of a species learning to exist in harmony with others. They had not just won a war, they had changed the very nature of their enemy. And in doing so, they had changed themselves, transforming from isolated survivors into something greater, architects of a new galactic civilization, built not on conquest, but on the combined strength of diversity.